It is so wonderful to hear the birds sing. I'm stepping outside in my front garden, just admiring the signs of life that are popping through, the perennials that are coming back, and also to cut some spring bulbs from my spring decoration. I planted the daffodils and the hyacinth specifically to be used as cutting flowers inside. Since it's usually too cold this time of the year to be outdoors, I prefer to cut them and bring them inside the house where I can display them in different vases throughout the rooms. And this is actually the first principle that I use when decorating for any season. I try to use natural elements whenever I can, and this means heading out into my garden to see what's blooming. The first room I'm going to be tackling for my spring refresh is going to be my family room. This is how it's looked most of the winter. As you can see, there are lots of pillows on the sectional. I have fur throws and wool throws. Oliver is currently enjoying one of the fur throws. He's really going to be upset when he sees that it's going to be put away for spring and summer. So the goal for this room is just to really pare things back, remove any obvious winter-related decor such as the wool blankets, the shearling on the ottoman. I'm also going to be removing the pillows, some of the pillows, the ones that are the warm, fuzzy pillows, which are much more appropriate to the cooler seasons, not so much to spring and summer. I also have something special planned for the two lamps that are on either side of the fireplace. And I also plan on switching out the florals since I have some dried hydrangeas right now, but I really associate those more with fall and winter. So I will be switching those out for something a little bit more spring-like. And this brings me to the second principle that I use when decorating for the seasons, and that is to repurpose and to borrow items from other rooms as much as I can. Not only does this save money, it also allows me to use items that I already have in new and fresh ways. In preparation for this spring refresh, I started thinking about different fabrics that I had in my stash from previous projects that I could use to make some new pillow covers for these gray velvet pillows. I thought this gorgeous floral chintz would be perfect for it. It's very English looking, which is exactly the look that I'm going for in this room, and I had just enough to squeeze two pillowcases from it. I'm trying to sort out the pillow situation, and I made the covers for these gray ones. So those are done. I just have to put the pillows inside. Now for these, I do like these pillows a lot, but I feel that the pattern is more a winter, fall, winter kind of vibe because of the paisley, the jewel tones. So I don't think that they will go very well with this. As you can see, it doesn't go at all. So what I thought I would do is I went to my guest room and I brought these taupey velvet pillows. And I thought, I have three of them. There's another one down here that I removed the cover from. So I do want to use these, but I thought that I would have to have some sort of a different cover for them. Of course, all my decorating projects usually end up turning into sewing projects. Not that I mind because I do love to sew, but it's just where do you find the time to do it? But I did remember that I have this really pretty blue and white gingham fabric. I bought this from Hobby Lobby last year. I believe it was $5.99 a yard, and I got 2 yards, and I got it when it was 40% off. I was originally going to make a skirt with it, so it is a little thin. And I've never done anything with it, but it is a little thin. Like I would upholster something in this, but I think for a pillow cover, I think it will be fine. And when I put this fabric, like let's say it would go like this. And then with this one, which this does have some blue in the flowers, but I think together, if you ignore this pillow, I think together they look really pretty. And I just love blue and white gingham. It just screams summertime to me. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I have 2 yards of it, so I'm going to have to make 3 pillow covers, and I am hoping to be able to make them double-sided. I think I just barely have enough fabric. I'm going to use this as my template. It's going to be a little tight, but I think I'll be able to squeeze 3 pillow covers from this. Yeah, I think that will do. So that's what I'm going to work on. These white pillows with a pom-pom trim, I decided to move to my living room, change that up, and I think that I'm also going to decrease the number of pillows that I have on this sectional. I think for summer, for the warmer months, I just like a more pared back look as far as pillows and throws and things like that. So that's what I plan to do here as well. I mentioned that I had something special planned for these lamps, and now I'm going to share with you my latest obsession, and that is lampshade covers. I like to change my decor seasonally, but I like to do it in subtle ways, and as you know, I am a lover of English country design, and you would be hard-pressed to open any decorating book that focuses on English country homes and not see these lampshade covers somewhere in the rooms. So I decided to try my hand at making them. I have a lot of scraps of fabric from prior sewing projects, and I thought, why not? The worst thing that can happen is that they will look horrible. But I actually love the way they turn out, and I loved it so much that I am making lampshade covers for all of my lamps in my house. My husband is going around scratching his head, wondering why I'm covering perfectly good lampshades with fabric. But, you know, he's just going to have to humor me on this one because I think it makes the room look so charming. This is what the room looks like after I finished with all my little tweaks. I think I captured the feeling of spring without going over the top. I think I added just enough spring touches to welcome the new season, and I think the room just has a lighter, more open, more inviting feeling. I was initially a little worried about using this floral fabric because of the yellow color, and I thought, well, I really don't have a lot of yellow in my decor, but I think it actually turned out really well because I do have the gold frames on the gallery wall, which, pick up that yellow tone. And I also have those two gold chairs on either side of the TV. Now, the lampshade covers, I did use the same fabric, but the styles are slightly different. So this is a pleated one, and I finished it off with a green velvet ribbon. And the other one is a gathered one where I used elastic to create the gathers, and I used the pom-pom trim at the bottom. I had a candle and some matches on this little side table. Since I don't burn a lot of candles during the warmer months, I switched out the candle for this beautiful crystal vase, and I used the same cuttings from my tree in the ginger jar that I have on my coffee table. Now I'm going to turn my attention to my dining room and my living room. And there's not a lot to do here, but one of the things I wanted to address are these figurines that I have, these little busts of a little boy and a little girl. And I do love them there, but I feel like they need something to make them a little bit more noticeable and more prominent. So I remember that I have these oval picture frames that I thrifted. They were a little expensive. I think they were like $8.99 because the frame is real wood and it's rather old. The prints themselves are just cardboard. They're nothing special. So I thought that I would use these to create a sort of a frame behind each of those busts. So I glued this pretty cream and green striped fabric to each of the frames and place them behind the busts. I decided to leave the frames the natural wood color because I have other dark wood tones in the room, but I might at some point paint them gold to match the wall shelf. Let me show you what these two rooms look like after I was done decorating for spring. And actually, I even hesitate to use the word decorate because I really don't think I did a whole lot of decorating. It was mostly very subtle changes, switching out florals, switching out pillows that I had in other rooms. Well, I do enjoy seeing those home tours on YouTube where the homeowner just goes all out, changing things for each season. You know, they change the rugs and they change the art on the wall. I don't have the time, the energy, or the budget really to do that. So the little changes that I did in these two rooms, I think they make me feel like I did freshen my home and prepare it for the new season. So I hope this inspires you in your own home to do whatever you can with what you have to create a beautiful transition to a new season. I'm really happy with how these two oval frames look behind the busts. I might do something different later, maybe put some molding around them or something a little bit more elaborate. But I'm happy with how this little DIY turned out, which is my third principle for decorating for the seasons, is to DIY as much as you can, and preferably using materials and supplies that you already have. I wish I had more tulip stems to add to these vases. I do think they look a little skimpy, so I'll be keeping my eye out for faux tulips on sale. The rest of the dining room remained unchanged. My china cabinet still has my blue and white transferware and my silver, which I think is seasonless. It looks good any time of the year. And this little antique marble top vanity or washstand still holds my collection of samovars. And then moving on to the living room, very subtle changes here too. I brought the two pom-pom pillows from my family room where they spent the winter there. And I just added some daffodils from my garden, which I think look very cheerful and happy here, especially combined with blue and white transferware. The yellow and the blue just complement each other so well. On the coffee table, I thrifted this bouquet of paper whites. I know paper whites are more a winter flower, but I was going with a white theme here, so I thought that these would work. And these are actually a very good quality faux, considering I found them at the thrift store, and they came in a blue and white bowl, not this one. I put the bowl that they're in inside this bigger bowl. And I think it looks really good on the coffee table. And on the desk, I wanted to spread a little bit of yellow here too, since I had the yellow daffodils on the side table. So I took some cuttings from my forsythia and I placed them in this little blue and white vase. I think it really complements the faux tulips very well. On the other wall, I have that tall wardrobe that I'm going to show you here. I didn't do anything to that. I felt it looked fine the way it was. So that remained unchanged. Thank you for stopping by today. Next week, I'll be sharing with you my entryway and my kitchen spring refresh. I hope to see you then.